injured, and you'll see that information in the report, in the warrant. The first order of day in that moment was to try and get care for this young female who had delivered childbirth in her home. Again, you'll find that in the warrant, and had no one of any adult nature or even a peer of hers offer her any assistance. So you can imagine just the trauma of childbirth. She needed medical attention. She is now at the hospital receiving that. Investigators worked throughout the evening to determine what exactly caused all of this. The family has been cooperative with us through this entire investigation, and certainly our hearts go out to them. I can't imagine the trauma. We can't imagine the trauma that they are going through, facing now the reality of what has occurred and the loss of a loved one, as well as now all of the charges that one of their other loved ones is facing. There is very little additional information that I can confirm for you right now. It is still an active investigation. The medical examiner has the deceased infant, and it will be up to them to determine, was this infant born alive or not? Was the infant viable or not? What is the exact age? What was the cause of death? So there's a lot of questions at play. Once we get that information back from the medical examiner, there will or could be additional charges. The reality is that could be 2 or 3 weeks before we get that information and we're able to continue our portion of the investigation. So we're at a holding pattern right now. Are there questions that I can answer for you today?
Can you just explain why she was in the hospital and her current medical condition at this point?
You're talking about a 17-year-old that gave birth to what appeared to be a fully formed or full-sized child in her own home. Certainly that isn't anything any of us would ever recommend, just as humans, right? So this female is now at the hospital just receiving treatment from childbirth. And once she has been discharged from the hospital, she is in custody at the hospital. She is not available. And we already are there with officers there. And she will be taken immediately to the Cobb County Adult Detention Center.
Now, you stated that someone was seen in the backyard digging a hole.
She was.
The mother.
The mother was.
Even after delivering this, I mean.
Correct.
We don't know what the timeline was.
If you read the warrant, it was several hours.
Is that boy or girl?
A boy.
Where did police find the body?
The hesitation on my face is that I don't know the exact location. So let's just say they're in proximity of the mother.
And did the 17-year-old live at that home?
I don't know the answer to that question. I believe that is her residence, yes. Her family lives there, so I would assume that that is her residence, yes.
So multiple people lived at the home. You were saying no
Yes.
one else helped her, so people were there?
They did not help her. They are helping us. The family has been cooperating with us. There is a language barrier. She is Guatemalan. The family has been fully cooperative with us through this entire investigation. Again, our hearts go out to them for the tragedy that they're having to unpack and try and process.
Have you, sir, had an opportunity to speak with the father of this baby? What can you tell us about that?
It's an active investigation, and to be candid with you, I don't know the answer to that question.
Chuck, do you know who called 911? Was it someone who was inside that home?
If you read the warrant, the uncle is the one that actually witnessed this and called.
Do you know why at this point this teenager didn't have more support in delivering a child?
We have no idea what the motive was behind any of this. Certainly this is a situation that defies logic. Asking me to explain a situation that defies logic, it's just impossible for me to even second guess.
What charges is facing now?
She is currently facing 3 separate felony charges related to the death of this infant, not the cause of the death, but what happened after death. It will be up to the medical examiner to determine if the child was born stillborn or if the child was born alive and viable.
Did she and the family know that she was pregnant before the birth?
All of that is still under investigation.
Do you know how long the body was there? You said several hours between the digging.
If you read the warrant, according to the warrant, at least 6 hours had passed.
And Chuck, I don't know if you could speak to this, but what resources are available in this community for a teenager in this type of situation? I know you're with the police department, but it's more of a social service realm. Where could these little girls turn?
To anyone watching this that found themselves in a situation that they were pregnant and concerned or embarrassed or frustrated or confused, There are a tremendous amount of faith-based organizations throughout our community, each of which would have anyone willing to help them. Also, counseling services readily available throughout the area. Worst case scenario, contact our department. We will connect you with someone who can help you. Certainly, we want you to have all the resources possible to protect you and your unborn child.
Chuck, I don't know if I missed this. Did you say when your team arrived that you guys tried to offer medical help to the newborn baby?
When our officers arrived, the infant was located, obviously deceased.
Where was the infant?
Someone already asked that question. I apologize. I don't know the answer, and I hesitate because I would prefer to just be factual. There, with either within the home or in the how about on the property? If we can just say on the same property.
Were there any visible signs of trauma?
All of that information is available in the warrant, and the answer is yes.
As far as the concealing the body charge, is that associated with the digging, or was the mother trying to conceal another way?
If you read each one of the charges on the warrant, after the words "to wit," that is where the investigator would type in the specific reasoning for that charge. We have to be able to articulate after that what is actually happening in order to get that warrant secured from a judge and be issued that warrant. So the answer to each of those questions I would be best just to defer to the warrant, and you can fill in the blanks on each of those.
Share more details about her family at the residence. Were her parents there?
At this point, I am not aware of the family that was at the residence, other than to say that they are all cooperating, and the uncle is the one that made the discovery of her digging in the backyard and contacted authorities to try and request assistance and ultimately hold her accountable.
Is it clear if she was a student in Cobb or Marietta?
I do not at this point know if she was enrolled in any local schools. That will be something we'll have to contact both the Cobb County and the Marietta City school system to determine.
Thanks, Chuck.
Do you know her immigration status or the family's immigration status?
All of that will be part of the investigation, but no, I do not have any idea. Right now, our focus was to try and get you the information. We were concerned that some of you had the information, that the call said that she had past tense buried the child. That did not take place. We wanted to correct that before that became obviously reported, because that's what you heard, but that's not physically what took place on the scene. And also to update you on where we are with the investigation. Again, if you give us a couple of weeks, as soon as we hear from the medical examiner's office, we'll be able to take the next steps on our end to determine if additional criminal charges are appropriate.
Could there be complications with the charges, taking into account, different abortion laws and birth laws here in Georgia?
Everything that she has been charged with today is regarding a deceased infant. So all of those charges will stand regardless of whatever took place prior to those officers arriving on scene. Good for now? All right, thank you all for coming out.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, appreciate it. Ya terminó la conferencia de prensa.
All right, so you just heard from Marietta Police giving the latest update on this investigation into a 17-year-old woman who has been arrested in connection to the death of a newborn baby. Now, this is a story that we have been breaking to you since Sunday when when this incident was first being investigated. Marietta Police saying that officers responded to a home on Gramling Street Southeast just after 3 o'clock after receiving reports that a newborn infant was dead inside of the home. Now, when they got there, that's when they found a baby that was dead on the property, as we just heard from police, recapping really the timeline of their investigation. Now, investigators ended up working on this case from 3 p.m. yesterday into earlier this morning, and then they proceeded to arrest a 17-year-old Leticia Rodriguez in connection to that newborn's death. Now, we heard from police saying that this woman is the mother of the child. She was arrested and taken to Wellstar Kennestone Hospital. We have been told in this news conference just now that once she's out of the hospital, she will be processed in the jail, and we'll get more information as she makes her what's expected to be a court appearance and go down the process, the arrest process, and face charges. Now, investigators did say that they still have a ways to go with this. They're expecting that in the next few weeks, as the medical examiner conducts their own investigation, and looks into really the extent of some of what we heard in this news conference, the trauma of this newborn victim, and the circumstances surrounding its death. We'll get a lot more information into what exactly took place, and we'll continue to bring the latest to you right here on Atlanta News First Plus.